Give you a recap from last night. About 7:30 p.m. last night, we received a call of a shooting in progress at the theater here behind me. Our response was almost immediate. There were 2 police officers who were actually on this property at the time the incident occurred. They were able to get together, make entry into the theater, met quite a few people coming out. As they made their way into the crowd, they heard a shot, and upon entering the theater, the suspect was found deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Numerous victims who were wounded were located. We also located a deceased female and immediately began first aid. Our local ambulance service, Acadian Ambulance Service, had a pretty quick response time as well. 12 ambulances were here within 6 minutes to care for the victims and transport to local hospitals. Our shooter is John Russell Hauser, H-O-U-S-E-R. He's a white male, 59 years of age. He previously resided in the state of Alabama. He's kind of a drifter. He's been in Lafayette since early July, as far as we can tell. He was staying at a local motel on University Avenue. We served a search warrant on that motel room at about 4:30 this morning. He was driving a 1995 blue Lincoln Continental. We found wigs and glasses and disguises basically in his room. His vehicle had a switched license tag on it. It was parked right outside an exit door of the theater. It is apparent that he was intent on shooting and then escaping. What happened is the quick law enforcement response forced him back into the theater, at which time he shot himself. No devices were found in his vehicle. No devices were found in the theater. As far as we know, one .40 caliber handgun is involved. That weapon has been recovered. It appears that at least 13 rounds were fired during the time he was in the theater discharging the weapon. Our victims are Macy Bro, the white female, 21 years of age. She died on scene. Jillian Johnson, the white female, 33 years of age, died at the hospital. Of the 9 victims that were hospitalized, 2 have been released. 1 victim remains in critical condition. The quick response by law enforcement is believed to have prevented further deaths. We are appealing to the public to contact law enforcement if they feel they may know this shooter or have had contact with him, because at this point we have very little information about him. We want the public to call this number, 337-291-8650. That is a direct line into our investigation section, and a person, it's a 24-hour number, and a person will be monitoring that phone and answering calls. We ask if you have any information about Mr. Hauser, please contact law enforcement. Our crime scene technicians work throughout the night to process the scene. As you can imagine, it's pretty horrific. It's a large area to process for physical evidence. A lot of people, upon exiting the theater, left a lot of possessions behind. So we recovered keys and purses and shoes and whatnot. So we're still working inside the theater. Crime scene is still doing some work in there. The theater has been made safe. There are no devices. We haven't detected any devices. We have not found that Mr. Hauser was working with anyone or associated with anyone. We haven't had any other threats at any other theaters. For now, this theater is closed until we can do all of the work we need to do here to try and piece together what happened. We will continue to update you throughout the day with any information that we come up with, any additional information that we come up with. I want to turn it over to Colonel Mike Edmondson with the Louisiana State Police to give a recap of his office's involvement in this investigation.
Can you spell his middle name? Spell Hauser's middle name?
R-U-S-S.
Yeah, R-U-S-S-E-L.
First of all, I want to praise the efforts of Chief Kraft and his men and the first responders, the emergency medical technicians that were here, those ambulances. Like you heard the governor say last night, as the danger was taking place inside, literally as those officers got there and shots were being fired, they went into it because they were worried about the individuals in there. You heard that at least 100 people were interviewed, that many and a few more were actually in the theater itself. I think it's going to be easy at this moment to kind of speculate. Here we are in Lafayette, Louisiana, in the middle of a neighborhood of a movie theater. Why did he come here? Why did he do that? We don't know that. It's not a possibility. Let's say that it's a domestic situation. It wasn't. Here's a guy that was a drifter, like the chief said, that just happened to be in this theater and took two beautiful lives. Don't lose sight of the fact that these two individuals had a vision, they had a name, they had a future. It wasn't to die as they did horribly in this theater here. So let's remember that as we put information out there. We'll try to get you the facts as we get them. He was in a local hotel. The police have been to that local hotel. They've been to his house in Alabama. They've talked to his friends. They talked to his family. That's why we didn't release that information last night, because we didn't want to put other police officers in harm's way. Look at an incident that happened at 7:30 last night. And here we had the possibility of the car having some type of explosive devices in it. You looked in the back seat, you saw what looked to be some wires. It didn't turn out to be anything. We didn't know what was in the trunk. That's why we evacuated the people in that area, and we actually remotely went inside that car. Had to blow out the windows. We had to do an explosion, open up the trunk portion of it. But we did that by a robot because we didn't want to get a police officer get hurt. At that point, we went into the movie theater. There was at least 3 objects that concerned us. We were able to x-ray those objects, deem them safe, and then completely clear the scene. We did that around 1:30. So in a situation where 13 gunshots were fired, a lot of different scenarios taking place, we were able to clear that and turn that back over to the Lafayette Police Department, where you have the technicians from the crime lab that are inside the building right now. They're trying to assess and find each one of those spent shells, find out exactly where those deceased bodies were. We've got to take pictures of that. We've got to try to figure out maybe there was a motive in determining how he went into the theater. But certainly him coming out and seeing those police arriving put him back in there to where he ended his life. So he could have come out and done additional harm. That we suspect. But to put a motive to it is just something that we simply can't do right now. I think you need to know that. We're going to support the Lafayette Police Department. We're going to help them with our detectives, narcotics, our intelligence fusion center. I think when you look at what happened here, within an hour, within minutes, police on the scene, but within hours, you have a full team from the federal government, local, state, and national people were here, giving all the information they could, all the help they could to try to help us as we work through this. So again, like I said last night, it was an ordinary moment, ordinary night. It turned into an extraordinary situation. That still a lot of moving parts that we've got to try to put together and support the chief and support his team and bring closure to the city of Lafayette for what happened last night. So we're going to continue to do that and try to find out what might could have happened. But please, you can help us if you've got any information. The chief gave the number. We'll give it out again. Call us. Let us know whether you're in state or out of state, whether you saw this guy. Give us some information that we can try to put a motive and try to make sure there's nothing else out there. We don't expect it this time. You heard that there was a possibility of another shooter. That wasn't the case. They closed another theater just as a precaution. They'll work with the theater to get that one back open. But I think it's important to know that we'll get the information to you just as quickly as we can. But we want to be mindful and respectful of the situation of families that had their lives turned upside down like that. What I'd like to do at this moment, and again, we'll come back and answer any questions y'all have, because I know we've got the mayor that wants to speak, but I want to turn it over to Governor Jindal, who was on the scene, arrived with me last night on the scene. We were both in Baton Rouge when this happened. I was able to get the information to him quickly by speaking to the chief, have his cell phone numbers. We talked all through the night, and then we were here on the scene also through that. It's been a long night, so please work with Governor Jindal.
Thank you, Mike. I want to, first of all, commend our law enforcement heroes. As you heard, running towards that theater, even as there was sound of gunshots, potentially saving additional lives. I want to emphasize the gunman's original plan was to leave the theater alive. His car was parked at the exit. As he was leaving in the crowd, trying to mingle in the crowd, he saw the law enforcement, local police officers, went back inside. That's when he shot and killed himself. Look, this was an awful, awful night for Lafayette, for Louisiana, for our entire country. There were amazing acts of heroism and selflessness that happened inside that theater. I think we're going to hear more of those as we continue to talk to witnesses and talk to those that were injured. A couple that I heard from last night as I went to the local hospital. 2 teachers here on summer break wanted to come see one final movie, come see a comedy as they were getting ready for school to start again. One teacher literally jumping over her friend, potentially saving her life. Second teacher felt like that bullet would have hit her in the head if her friend hadn't jumped on her. The second teacher was shot anyway in the leg, had the presence of mind to pull that fire alarm. Who knows how many lives were saved just by that presence of mind. And I think we're going to hear more and more stories like this where friends were looking out for each other. But last night was also a heartbreaking night. I visited with family members who would rush to the emergency room, hoping and praying to God that it wasn't their loved one, wasn't their child who had been shot, either wounded or even worse, maybe even fatally. We had folks who had to cancel their vacations, had to come from all over the country, rushing back to Lafayette to make sure it wasn't their loved one, to provide support. I was at the emergency room. I saw family and friends who rushed there, and even when they found out their friend may have been injured, but not critically injured, weren't going to leave until they had seen the friend for themselves, waiting for hours. Saw a family priest there and saw others rush to those emergency rooms to try to provide that comfort. I will say this. Obviously, the people of Louisiana, the people of our great country are very angry whenever something like this happens. We're angry about the evil that exists in our world, about these apparently senseless acts of violence. We're also tremendously saddened by the loss of life, the injuries, the disruption of these families. Now is the time to shower them with our thoughts, with our prayers, and with our love. I have no doubt that Lafayette will come through this. This is a resilient, a tough community. It's not going to be easy. There'll be tears. We're going to have to explain to our kids why bad things happen to good people. I say that not only as the governor of this great state, but as a husband and as a father. I got 3 young kids that go to the movies all the time during their summer break, and we're going to have to go back and explain to our children. It makes you want to hug your children a little tighter, and it makes you want to do everything you can to protect them. You want them to live their lives. We will continue, the police will continue to investigate. I don't think we will ever truly be able to understand why something like this happens. We will get through this. It will be tough. When anybody in America is hurting, we're all hurting. When one family is hurt, we're all hurt. And I know this will bring us back even closer together. I want to emphasize, for those that aren't from here, this is a normal movie theater in a normal part of a normal town. This is Anywhere USA. We're literally blocks from the local university. You never in a million years think it could happen here. You never want it to happen anywhere, but you never think it could happen here. You never think it could happen in Louisiana or Lafayette. This just shows these senseless acts of violence can literally happen anywhere. I just ask folks for their thoughts and prayers and love. I know the owner of the theater is setting up a fund to benefit the families. I would encourage people, again, do everything you can to support these amazing families. And again, I want to commend, had a chance to thank the doctors and the nurses last night. I want to thank the Acadian Ambulance. I want to thank the law enforcement officials that did such an heroic job. Now I want to turn things over to the mayor. He was one of those that was absolutely critical for him to be here. And again, you've seen just a tremendous outpouring of support and working together with local, state, and federal authorities. Let me turn things over to Joey Durrell, the mayor of Lafayette.
Thank you, Governor. I also want to thank the emergency responders. I mean, everything I've heard. In fact, I had a police officer pick me up at the airport this morning early, and the first thing he told me was how proud he was how well all the agencies work together. Lafayette was picked as the happiest city in America. But like anybody, our hearts are breaking right now. We're hurting very much because we have good friends and family that are part of this tragedy. We'll become the happiest city again because we are such a strong community. It's very resilient, as the governor said. And the reason is because we are a very family-oriented community. Everybody in this community is part of our family. And the community I'm talking about is not just Lafayette, not just Lafayette Parish, but all of Acadiana and, in fact, Louisiana. But the people of Acadiana, the 7 or 8 parishes that surround Lafayette, are going to all be praying for this tragedy, for the people here that were so terribly harmed by this. And, it is just it's something that you don't expect to happen in Lafayette. As the governor said, we're just any town in USA, you don't have these kind of things that happen. And you know, like I said, our hearts are broken, but we'll heal with the help of all the people at KDM. Thank you.
We'll distribute individual photos of our shooter, but we want to show you this picture right now. It's a little blurry, but we'll try and get you a more clearer picture. But this is John Russell Hauser, white male, age 59. We're asking for anyone who had contact with him, had interaction with him, please call that number 337-291-8650.
Spell his last name for us, please.
Housr.
Russell, spell Russell for us again.
Russell.
And where is he from?
That's an Alabama license.
He is from Alabama, the state of Alabama, Phoenix, Alabama. Phenis.
Chief, can you get into his background and why you had a mugshot of him?
Do what now?
Can you get into his background? You said that he had a criminal past in one of your last briefings. Can you get into what that is?
His criminal past is very, very aged. He hasn't had anything that we have found so far, arrest or anything like that, in probably maybe 10, 15 years, maybe longer.
What was he arrested for 10, 15 years ago?
I think he had an arson, and I think he had a misdemeanor, maybe selling alcohol to a minor. Other than that, we haven't really found anything else on him. He seems to be estranged from his family. We talked to some of the family members last night who haven't seen him or don't have very much contact with him. And so he just seemed like he was kind of drifting along. We don't know why he chose to stop and stay in Lafayette. He was staying in a local motel, and we have very little information on him thus far, and that's why we're asking for the public's help. Anybody who may have had interaction with him.
Talk about those two. Can you spell the names of the people, the two deceased girls again for us? And are they from Lafayette as well?
Macy, M-A-Y-C-I, Bro, is a white female, 21 years of age, from Franklin, Louisiana. Bro, B-R-E-A-U-X.
First name one more time, please.
Macy, M-A-Y-C-I.
And last name?
Bro, B-R-E-A-U-X.
And you said those charges you mentioned before from several years ago, 15 or 7 years ago?
Yes. Jillian Johnson, J-I-L-L-I-A-N, J-O-H-N-S-O-N, white female, 33 years of age. She was from Lafayette, Louisiana.
Did the two know each other, do you know?
Did victim?
Yes.
No. Not that I know of.
Can you talk a little bit more about what you found in that motel room in terms of disguises?
We found some wigs, glasses, things that a person could use to maybe change their appearance. We don't know if that was maybe part of his plan to enter the theater looking differently than he looks and be able to escape. We know he switched the tag on the car because we found the license plate for the car in his motel.
Were they men's wigs?
Chief Kraft.
I'm not sure about that.
Chief Kraft. Was he wearing any disguises when you found him?
No, and we're still waiting to review the video from the theater because he actually purchased a ticket and came in and went in to watch the movie.
How frustrating is it to not know the motive for your shooting?
It's extremely frustrating. This is such a senseless, tragic act. Well, why would you come here and do something like that? And so, just like the victims, we're searching for answers too. Two innocent people lost their lives. Numerous other people were shot. It's only, through medical science that we have more survivors than we do deceased victims.
Can you speak about the survivors?
Two of the survivors have been released. The rest are hospitalized.
As far as ages?
No, we're not giving out any identifying information on the victims.
Just one is critical, you said?
One is critical. The rest are either hospitalized, except for two who were treated and released.
What's the address of the motel?
It's on University Avenue. I'm not sure. It's Motel 6.
Do you have any reason to believe he knew anyone in the theater or why he chose this theater?
Not yet. We're still combing through the information and the evidence that we've gathered, picked up, and we still have a lot of work to do.
He had been staying at that motel since the beginning of July.
Yes.
Any signs of drugs or alcohol in the hotel room?
Indications that alcohol may have been consumed. No drugs were located.
What did his family have to say about it? Anything?
We're still interviewing family members. We're getting assistance from the FBI with that, and basically that he had been estranged from them and it didn't have much contact with them, and was just kind of drifting around.
Was he married or did he have kids or anything?
I think he was married at one time, but he's not presently married as far as I know.
Any
Did he have
kids?
ties to Lafayette earlier?
The only connection we have found so far is that he had an uncle that lived here but has been deceased, I think, for some 35 years. Okay, thank you. We'll give you an update as the day goes on.
How soon do you think that update might be?
Probably we'll try and do it every 2 hours if we have new information to report.
Did you speak to his former wife?
She's been interviewed, I think, yes.
Did she tell you anything about it?
Federal agents are handling that part of it, and we haven't gotten any additional updates. Okay, thank you.